allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and is the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful for all the blessings that we've received, and especially reminders of them so as we got ready to talk about them. We ask you to help guide our legislators and ourselves to recognize the needs of our county. We ask that you help us practice empathy and compassion as we make important decisions. We pray for our teachers and all those involved with getting our children back to school safely. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any public comments that we received to read this time. So we can move to the announcements of the service awards.
What are we doing for service awards? Do we want to get some pictures? Who's got the awards? Are we giving awards or?
So what we've been doing with the restrictions is we'll generate the awards and we'll give to the supervisors. We've just been recognizing them in the commission needs. And as things change, we'll again invite employees back to be recognized. But for now, we'll recognize them by reading aloud.
Okay. So first service award is Maria Maldonado. Detention 20 years. Griffith, Chief Deputy Sheriff, 15 years. Jamie Eagle, Assessors, 10 years. Lynette Reese, detention 5 years. Oh, got old Josh Mack here. Fire Service Director, 5 years. Gabrielle Forrest, landfill, 5 years.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next, we have our annual report from Eddy County Extension. And this year, Mr. Wayne Shockey is here to give us an update. I think you all have their report. Come on up. You all have their report at your desk there. Mr. Shockey, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us a little bit of time to visit with you today. I try to get these reports out in advance as compared to normal when we walk in and hand them to you. Maybe you've had a chance to look over them. They were a few days later than what I had anticipated trying to get them to you. I tried to get them to you earlier last week. We had some issues with the contact reporting and stuff. If you look at that next to last page, you'll see that spreadsheet. The contact reporting doesn't pull correctly for some reason right now. I don't know what's going on with that. One thing for certain, our numbers are way down, but again, it won't let me pull Mr. Mountain's contacts for the entire year from last year for some reason, even though he didn't start till August 1. So, comparatively, yeah, it looks a little bit low, and it probably actually is. We're going to be about a third short on contact reporting if we put it comparatively to years past. Of course, we're shut down for quite some time. So, with that contact reporting, again, it's not exactly up to date, but it will be as we work through this. I have with me today Ms. Carly Fisher. She's our Family Consumer Science Agent. We are currently staffed with myself, Ms. Fisher, and one administrative assistant. With the retirement of Mr. Houghton last year, August 1, we have temporarily been in a hiring freeze waiting on budgets to come out from legislators to see what we can do as far as restaffing our office. Normally we would have another agent plus another administrative assistant. So until we see the budgets and things like that, we are temporarily under MSU. So we are told that we will be able to hire an ag agent very soon. I don't know how soon that will be. Uncertainty around the other administrative you've had a chance to look through some of this and things like that, there's a few things that we've missed that we didn't put in there. One thing that we've been pretty good at the last 4 years is being able to acquire additional funding to the tune of about $90,000, to my knowledge, between grants, extra legislative funding from Representative Catherine Brown, from fundraising and donations from private funders. That's not in that report. So that's been over the course of about 4 years that I've been here. I'm trying to kind of go back a little bit to my tenure, my time here, and kind of fill those numbers together. So financially, like I said, we do try to find that extra money that's floating around and bring that to the table to try to help support our efforts. Speaking just strictly with the 4-H, in my job description, I am the 4-H instructor. Currently, we are down about a third, from 330 youth last year down to about 220 this year. We all know the reason why we've since begun posted. Okay. We are kind of battling back and forth right now within MSU, trying to get our doors open. Currently under MSU policy, we are still under red. We are supposed to be closed. I have not done that. We try to keep somebody staff in that office, at least answering the phones, at least being reporting back to our stakeholders here. Phone call opportunity. So I just had a phone call this morning, talked to our district director. We are going to push very hard in the next couple of weeks to open those. So with that, currently, I have spent the last year on the advisory board for Department of Student Service. I've spent the last year as the New Mexico State Board's Agents President of the association. Also a member of the Mexico Ag Leadership Forum. Dealt a lot directly with the policies and things like that that were being pushed through and trying to fight to keep some things going. We know that we canceled just nearly every event last year. I'm currently right now on 2 committees within MSU that we are looking to open up opportunities for our youth to start getting back together again. One being the State 4-H Student Sports Committee, which usually the state shoots held in May. We are going to conduct that shoot being a distant shoot and then take our top teams together to qualify teams for national conference. I'm also on the State Summer Activities Planning Committee. We are in the process of trying to plan a state conference, executive contest, for schools, regional livestock schools, and in doing so, planning them in a non-virtual setting. So we are seeing some bright spots in this, and I think we are seeing some changes in the policies to finally get us up. And that's really the big push we have to be that push. So I will turn it over to Ms. Charlie Fisher, let her explain her FCS side, and I'll be more than happy to take some questions from listeners.
So in the family consumer sciences programs that Department of Extension has to offer, I would say I started the year out last year strong and eager. Y'all know I was hired in October of 2019, and then we were shut down in March, so I had a really short little program stint. Had some really good osteoporosis prevention programs going with our senior citizens, doing some weight-bearing exercises and nutritional classes for that. Got to do a little bit of diabetes education, again, in Artesia with that, and when we had our schedule for end of March in Carlsbad, that was fairly canceled. So you can look through our day planners and see all of the red lines that went through all of the programs we had dreamed of doing, and I was excited to do. But on the so the adult side of things did get a little, I guess it really did shut down, and I don't know if it became majority of my clientele at that time was senior citizens, so access to internet, knowledge and capability of using virtual format was a little limited, and so that became hard. So we converted to just mail information to the senior citizens mostly. So I tried really hard to pick up on the youth side and the 4-H FCS side of things, and held some virtual overbud camp for our youngest 4-H members, and then had some, because their contest season was shut down, we had some virtual contests, photography contests, and you'll see some of those photographs that the kids sent in the annual report we have. And it just kind of was, ended up being a goal of mine with mental health state that took over in our youth to kind of facilitate some positive activity for them, even in a virtual setting. And kids thrive on competition, and they loved, we did a photography competition, had over 70 entries just in our county, which was good. And then at the end of the year, we did a gingerbread contest and had some entries there. So it was well perceived. Seemed to have spent the year in training, converting live programs to virtual formats, and we did offer some Kitchen Creations, which is a diabetic cooking school program. Virtually, we collaborated with Debaca County, Guadalupe County, and Chaves County to host a virtual cooking school. So as extension agents, we demonstrated, it's kind of like having our own little food network, and we did demonstrate some of those diabetes-friendly recipes and have good turnout. As virtual numbers go, they are never the same as having a class program full of 20 or 30 participants. We hit about 50% of that. But I was happy to say that 50% of our Kitchen Creations class were Eddy County residents, and that was great. We worked closely with healthcare providers, some registered dietitians in Carlsbad and Artesia to recruit for those programs and have a good collaboration with them, and hopefully soon our health council as well. They're pretty tied up with COVID practices and policies and adjustments right now, but hoping this year to really increase our diabetes education, our childhood obesity education, because that is one thing we've seen come out of the shutdown and the pandemic is childhood obesity rates are really climbing. So looking to really offer some after school programming and try to get involved with them and their clients that way. They're just a great resource. And then I was trained for progressive ag safety as a safety coordinator. So I'm really hoping they offer, we used to offer progressive ag safety days in Eddy County and bused all of the, I think there were 3rd or 4th grade students to the fairgrounds in Artesia, and they participated in about 10 or 20 safety workshops, from lawnmower safety to livestock safety, firearm safety, and we just haven't had great growth in that program area, but we're coordinated again, we're trained again, and ready to figure out how we can either offer it virtually in classrooms or wait and be able to offer it maybe this fall in a live setting, a face-to-face setting as well. So that's progressive on SCS side. And finally, as I mentioned, our mental health situation. I was recently trained as a mental health first aid trainer. So we will be offering programs for adults that work with youth to be able to identify signs and symptoms and respond in a first aid format to mental health issues and concerns with our youth. So hoping to offer that to 4-H leaders, school teachers, church volunteers, and other coaching, people who work with youth throughout the country. That's where I'm headed with SCS for the year. A lot of what we did in 2020 as well. Already starting to have what we call 4-H Fridays workshops. Having a few 4-Hers coming in, sew, do baking, and offer some of the 4-H projects in small groups, so just a 4-to-1 setting right now, so we can gather in groups of 5. But they're coming. The kids want it, and we're doing as much as we can with the limitations that the university has put on us to offer programs numerous times to have them get their projects ready. Questions?
I'll touch on our 4-to-1. That's for indoor programming. I have figured out to do outdoor programming to some capacity, so do that. So, or at least that's my understanding. I can go with that, but so we're excuse me, sorry about that. So I started doing livestock selection stuff. I mean, more outdoors, so we can start numbers. So we can actually see if we work well. So it may take a different twist on how we're doing our 4-H Friday, especially if the weather's starting to warm up. Do some things out for us. Any questions?
I was really thinking that your number increased because you lost stuff outside, but it makes sense that you can't do it. So, man, what a great opportunity to really push 4-H and have a lot of activity outside and things like that. You do obviously have a lot of limitation.
And I think the limitation of competition, it really did take out their sales. A lot of kids thought, I mean, for a long time we didn't know if there was going to be fairs or not fairs, expos or indoor judging, and kids, the investment in the 4-H project, time-wise for parents and families, but financially as well, I think really was something that hindered enrollment or completion of projects. Our enrollment was good, but our completion of projects was a little bit low last year as far as our indoor judging projects.
Last year's numbers, we could see the uncertainty fell, especially with livestock. Our livestock numbers were down at the livestock expo. Indoor, I mean, everything was down. It was just an uncertainty at that point in time. No matter how many times we tell them, hang in there,
It's a
we're
risk
going to make it
every
clear. You know, there was still several for one reason or another. And they backed out. So, this year I think we're on a little more solid footing as far as maybe our enrollment bound on youth, but I think we have an opportunity to rebuild again. Once they start seeing the opportunities that are coming, what we're going to do. The number one reason kids enroll in 4-H, and this has been proven many times, is for the social environment. Unfortunately, we just haven't been much of a social environment. Outside of the livestock shows, and again, that's a different item within the public health order that allowed for the livestock shows to happen. Of course, that was not put in the public health order until we had no progress. So, it still remains there now, so at least there's not any uncertainty for the livestock and also start back up and start on some solid footing.
With the recent state designation for stream drought, anything coming through ag extension offices about for local farmers, ranchers that in terms of aid or anything like that that you're aware of?
That would be a great question for our ag agent if we had one. I do see a few things that come across with emails here and there, but I'm going to be real honest with you because I haven't really had that primary focus for me is youth development.
Sure. You might check with your peers and see if they've
absolutely
got windows, things like that you might, I mean, we could use the county website and whatnot to, Jerry Strong can help us get that public awareness out if there are those kinds of opportunities, given the extreme conditions.
I think on that note, I have sat on a committee, or we're just starting this month actually, to do some water conservation education and developing a series of webinars for now, everything virtual of course, with some of the specialists and ecologists at the university level, and then several county agents from around the state to come in to even do urban water conservation as well, and talk about the drought years.
I think that's good.
Thank you.
For your support, as always.
Keep your head up.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
All right, Mr. Chairman, next item is the approval of, starting with the trailing agenda, approval of commission meeting minutes for February 2nd, 2021.
Do you have any questions or? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the commission meeting minutes for January 2nd. Back that Monday. It's February 2nd. Have a motion second. Take all the vote.
Yes.
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 Carlson,
Yes.
resolution, and we can acknowledge them, and I can bring them to the next meeting. Or if there are bills that you would like county to object to or oppose or support, I'm happy to send a letter from the county as county manager on your behalf. But given the power of the commission and the movement, the formal resolutions are probably the most impactful. But if you ask me to, careful, county attorney, if there are things that you would like me to express, I'm happy to do that. But the commission speaks through the resolutions. Did I
Mr.
get
Chair.
that right? That's correct.
Mr. Chair. Also, every Thursday, the NMC Executive Committee, we meet virtually. And if you want me to, and that's specifically wise because things are progressing so quickly, that the Executive Committee makes decisions for the entire Executive Board. And if you want me to express any kind of opinions or opposition or support for anything, because we discussed several different ones that come up, just please reach out to me, let me know, and I'll be happy to express your views to the Executive Committee.
Right now, the NMC Executive Board has a list of 30-odd bills. Most are in opposition for NMC, and a small number are in support of. So it's like 25-5, something along those lines.
Yes, sir. That's real close.
If the commissioners would like to see that list, I can send you the current list. They're meeting again soon.
Thursday.
Wow.
I'd like to see that out.
Yes, sir, I'll send it out. Can you dim those down a little bit? It's right in there. Anyway, my apologies for the interruption. So, we can move forward with the resolution agreement consent agenda.
Can I entertain a motion that we approve the resolution agreement consent agenda as presented?
I make that motion.
Having a motion and a second, please call for the vote.
Cordova?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
McCutcheon?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Thank you. At this point, we'll open it for department updates. Mr. Hooper?
Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Last week I sent out there were 12 emails to county managers about the Arrowhead study, and this week I'll follow up with some phone calls about it. I did have one respond back that would like for us to go ahead and give a presentation on March 23rd at 9 a.m., and that will be a Zoom meeting, and that's with Grant County. The county manager did tell me that she would give me a call prior to that, and I'm assuming she'll send me an email to set that phone call up just to kind of give some dynamics of the commission there. And I'm sure that in Grant County there's some dynamics there as far as political views, but anyways, that one's set up, and I did receive an email back from Luna County. That county manager said that he was just about through the study and that he would like for us to go ahead and give a presentation to his commission also. So hopefully we'll just keep getting these meetings set up. But if you would like to present at that meeting on March 23rd, it's at 9 a.m. with Grant County. And then one other thing, our project on the relief route, we should start construction on that within the next couple of weeks. So we're waiting on a few more documents to come in from the contractor, but we're real close to kicking that off.
Awesome.
Did you send it to Donnie Anna?
Yes, I did. I have not heard anything back from them. I'll make some phone calls to them this week. I sent it to the county manager, and then there's 2 assistant county managers there that I CC'd on it. So.
Okay.
So for as, I don't want to call it, for a county commissioning a study, kind of a low profile, this information has gained a lot of attention and traction from lots of different avenues and sources, some from yourselves, some from Wes, and some from our legislators locally. So again, it's just data, but the message, the did you know or do you understand concept is taking a hold, and so hopefully we can help folks understand the impacts of some of their the choices that they're making and the support that they're providing or not, what implications those could have on their budgets. Money's a hard thing to come by in the current economy, particularly if you're a local government dependent on state resources. That's not a pretty landscape right now. So, you know, I think this study will have some pretty good outcomes once we get a higher visibility for it. So,
Could we, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Could we specifically contact, I mean, I know we sent out the information, but could we specifically contact maybe the Bernalillo County Commission and the Santa Fe County Commission to actually say, hey, we want to be on your agenda
Yes, sir.
to present this?
And that's exactly what I was gonna say. If we could get a list of the 12 counties you sent it to.
Sure.
We might know commissioners on that are friendlier to at least listening. Because not all county managers, they might not be as friendly. I'm not saying they're not, but you just never know. So if we can go direct to sources, then maybe. I just want people to have the information. Whether they like the information or not, it is irrelevant. I want them to at least have it.
And understand it.
So I agree 100% with you. If we could make.
Sometimes we have to be pushy.
Sure. So I'll send an email out to y'all letting you know which.
Far be it for me to be that way.
Have you sent it to municipalities at all?
Just one.
Just one. Because if we could really hit some of those towns that have no money, they might need to know that, hey,
Yes.
this is a big hit. Just a thought.
You know, one of the things too, thinking about it, what about the Association of Counties giving a presentation to them?
I would, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I was just going to bring that up. I'm going in person later this week. Rebecca Long and I are both going to go to Santa Fe on Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which I go. I'd love to have a copy of this, whatever information you have, and I'll take it and present it in our meeting and pump it out to the entire executive board. Well, actually, the entire board of directors, which is all the counties. So I think that's a really, really good avenue to do that.
Can I make copies for you?
Please do. I'll take whatever you want to give me and get it out.
How many would you need?
Maybe about 10. Electronically is the best way, because what I'll do is there's going to be people meeting virtually, and I can get it put on the agenda and come up just like that for everybody to see, and they can see it on the computers as well.
then we can give them the one page, did you know, and then the front and back stats, and then they can have the full report.
Can I get about 30 hard copies? I've got to give a speech at a luncheon this week, and I'd like to pass that out.
We could also maybe tailor something to school boards around the state as well. If we get something into school boards, I know that this past week in a call with the state land commissioner, she was asked how she was essentially going to replace the revenue for the schools with oil and gas, and her answer was that how she was going to replace the oil and gas revenue for the schools with renewables, and her answer was that she couldn't. She says, well, I can't. And so, you know, being as how we have the rest of the state receiving about 75, and if everybody doesn't know how state land works, obviously all the state land, the revenue off of state land goes directly to education. And that's the purpose of state land, whether it's grazing lease or minerals or anything like that, all that goes to fund the state. But she she cannot replace that. She admitted it herself in that conversation or in that call. And so, if we could tailor something as well and present to school boards around the state, and just, I mean, we got to have more players on our team. So
That's why I would target, I keep saying Doñana, but Las Cruces, Albuquerque, you get some of these renewable folks that are so excited about it, understand exactly what you said. All of a sudden, it's not Eddy and Lee. I got loud, huh? Eddy and Lee complaining or pushing this. It's actual. So maybe they'll have to start listening.
Yes, sir.
What about San Juan County? I mean, they should be in the same position.
Yes, and what I did, I basically just kind of grouped like the eastern side and then the southwest side, and I sent those out. I didn't want to have things on top of each other, so I thought I'll hit these 12 counties first, and then, of course, I know the city manager there in Deming, and it's a real poor city and county, so I was hoping to get a little bit more feedback that way and kind of get some things rolling. I didn't hit Bernalillo or San Juan or Santa Fe yet, so I will definitely do that.
And then maybe if ATN would draw us another picture with Cedillo Lopez stabbing our Eddie horse, that may, I don't know, may go somewhere out there.
Can you send us whatever you're sending, can you send it to me so I can send exactly what you're sending to the county managers, to the commissioners?
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Include me on that as well, Wes. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks, Wes. Keep up the good work.
We'll check on that A10 thing.
Yeah.
Maybe opposed to stabbing, but.
Maybe.
Other department updates.
Strangling, did something. Maybe put Eddie the horse in a dark room, that go in blackouts or something. Renewable. Awesome.
So you'd want something like State Land Commission on the dagger, right?
No. Cedillo Lopez specifically.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, I think Jerry knows her. Yeah.
Gently now.
Chairman, Commissioners, just a quick update on several of our fronts. Obviously, it's been cold. Our guys have been out salting roads since Friday afternoon, trying to keep them clear. They've done a real good job as far as what we can do. Hopefully, it'll warm up and we'll go back to working. We've decided, and I know you approved the agreements this morning for FEMA. We are moving forward on all our FEMA projects. We did issue notice to proceeds for March 1st on those, and they are setting up and moving down the road on those, starting with Dogtown, and then they're going to work around to getting those going. We've already completed a few of the smaller ones that were just some asphalt patching and some riprap. Those were relatively small that have been completed. So those are moving forward, and hopefully we'll be able to get that closed out. So we have several other things going, but I won't detail those this morning. We'll save those for another day. Questions, concerns?
Jason is working on, as we mentioned in the last meeting, probably first part of March,
Yes, sir.
an overall road update as part of the budget process that we'll introduce to all of the commissioners for information. As you all know, road department has a great story to tell, and they've had a lot of great results in the past fiscal year, much due to your support and direction. So we'll continue that. Appreciate the work on the roads over the weekend. First, Saturday night, Sunday morning, everybody was wondering, is the other shoe coming? Fortunately, we got what we got, and that's okay. The weather's going to shift. It'll warm up today and tomorrow, so it should be okay. Not the moisture that the ranchers were looking for, but
Take what we can get.
take what we can get.
Take every drop we can get.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Other departments?
I just want to let everybody know, strategically, these little blackout shirts supposed to increase in their duration from a
Thanks, Brian. If there are no other department updates, we'll move to legislative updates.
Jerry?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time. It's been a little challenging this morning trying to get all my reports together. But first of all, I think what I need to bring to you is the fact that we just received an email just moments ago from Steve Kopelman from the New Mexico County Association requesting us to call our legislators on House Bill 4. There's a rumor flying around the roundhouse that the counties are not opposing this, and that's not true, as we know. They're strongly opposing that. The New Mexico House of Representatives, of course, will meet this morning at 11 o'clock, and House Bill 4 can be first up for debate. So as soon as I can, we've already expressed our displeasure with this bill. So I think the thing that Steve's asking is that we let them know that New Mexico counties are still opposed to House Bill 4. There is a substitute, as I know you've seen in my reports before, for that bill, and it does nothing to help the bill at all. It's just a bunch of bunk, and that's all I'll say about that. One thing I will segue, though, quickly on House Bill 4 is we did have a Senate Bill 376 that was introduced last week by Senator Cervantes. It kind of tags on to House Bill 4. It will be heard in Senate Health and Public Affairs Committee. It's scheduled for there. We haven't seen it come up yet, but the problem with that bill is that it raises all the cap limits on everything as far as the amounts that they can actually sue for. It's terrible, and so that snowball continues to get large, and I have not heard anybody other than some of the attorneys that are in support of it in the legislature. So just to say that. I'll let you know how my week goes. I've been, every morning I've been joining New Mexico County Zoom call with their staff. We go over all of the bills that are up for the day in the next few days and talk about things that maybe we need to formulate some type of a comment on. That's going very well, and I greatly appreciate that staff there. Pass that on to the sheriff. Of course, we all know they do a great job. Kind of move into some legislation, and I've been trying to update you through emails on things that I feel important or urgent as it happens. And so one of the things that we saw this week or actually yesterday that was very important is Senate Bill 86. 86 was the use of fresh water. The title of the bill is the use of fresh water in oil and gas operations. I've called that bill the wolf in sheep's clothing since it was introduced, because it gets into all of the different regulations and rules and trying to make the OCD create new rules, gives them more jurisdiction over things. You know, we have a saying in legislatures, no such thing as fixing a bad bill. You can't fix a bad bill. They tried to do that. Senator Cedillo Lopez tried to do that in committee. She met a lot of opposition on it. I was very encouraged by the debate we saw there in Senate Judiciary. It was very obvious that those members were displeased with that bill because it was tabled on a 7-2 vote. I can tell you that our friends on the Republican side of the aisle did not say anything. And so I know that the homework had been done. I have sent letters to all of them with talking points and different things, and I know several have been talking, but they were unhappy with it. I don't want to sound overly optimistic about it, but it appears that they understand that we do not need bills that are going to shut down oil and gas and cut off revenue. There's some pretty heavy hitters on that Senate Judiciary Committee, and they were very forward with their comments on that, and about even Senator Cervantes, give him credit for this. He asked the sponsor about, he looked at the FIR, and the FIR was very obvious that it was going to stop a lot of revenue, that revenue up to 30%, and so in the budget, and so she immediately fired back and said that the FIR was wrong, that the OCD had only had considered, in their consideration of the bill, had said that all permits, everything would be shut off. And that was not true. That the bill, that bill's, in the way that bill was formulated, that bill was not going to shut things down. And so when they came back and asked, and Senator Cervantes asked the question, he said, so if it shuts off 10% of the money, where are we going to make it up? And so I thought that resonated very loudly. Commissioner Carson, thank you for that. So that's Senate Bill 86, Senate Bill 149, the anti-fracking bill is in Senate Judiciary. I hope it meets the same fate. Okay? I just feel like that's where we're headed with those, and I really appreciate the sponsor and what she's trying to do. And so I think she's helping us. And I appreciate your comments earlier, Chairman. Senate Bill 236, which is a community college bill, it passed out on Saturday and yesterday. I've lost track. I'm sorry, guys. It was Saturday evening and Sunday, and yesterday was Monday. So, but anyway, it passed out. Very good support there. Now it goes to Senate Finance. Senate Bill 82, which is Radioactive Waste Consultation Task Force bill. We saw that bill get tabled on a 4-4. It's back in there today. Actually, as we're speaking, it's in Senate Conservation. House Bill 4 was scheduled for floor debate. Of course, I already mentioned that, but it's been moved down the agenda. The abortion bills have been moving through both sides. It looks like that it will be the decision, unless something changes, be a decision of the governor whether or not that law is repealed, unfortunately.
Jerry,
Yes,
can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
On the bill about changing this to a community college, is that looking favorable? Or?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. 236 is a community college bill, and it looks very favorable. It passed out of committee without much discussion yesterday. Fortunately, the head of New Mexico State University was there. I think our folks here I'll say this, our folks here in Carlsbad who have been pushing that issue have done a fantastic job in dotting their I's and crossing their T's, and they gave a very good case in support of that, which was obvious that they had more support of turning it into a community college than MSU had in not turning it into a community college.
Yeah.
That was the way the conversation went in the committee. So they
I
did
think the chairman is, or the chancellor is opposed, but I think there's a rift certainly between the chancellor and the governor. She mentioned that in the call with the Bat Brigade last week. Ultimately, it's the governor's decision on how that plays out. But I think the momentum and the support locally is really important to getting that message to her. There's challenges. There's a lot of money involved.
36 million.
And there have been some comments from basically some work that's been done locally in the accounting to try and understand where the money is and the interest on that money. And it would not be a stretch for someone to say that it's about the money. It's a money grab.
Well, it's also about other things, like we've been treated kind of like the stepchild of NMSU.
No
kids without even the books and stuff to do the
no
course.
question about it. But at the end of the day, there's another college in the system that is a sister to Carlsbad, and they don't have quite the same reserve, but one goes, two goes, that reserve that the main university is holding in their coffers becomes a real issue. So that was what has the governor upset, is the way that these colleges have been treated by the main campus. So
there's also a sister bill to that over in the House, which is House Bill 212, and it's scheduled for education. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing back and forth here because I'm trying to get things pulled up where I can give you a current, but it's scheduled there and it hasn't been scheduled, or it hasn't been heard there yet. But I think we're going to get support on both sides. from what I saw and what I saw from the responses on the Senate side. Very, very good. And Senator Curran did a great job. Did a great job presenting that. So,
Yes.
okay. What else can I tell you? There's been over 700 pieces of legislation introduced. We have I'm tracking about 130 or 40 right now. They go on the floor this morning, and I'm sure there's going to be some more come out. They're pulling out. That's what always happens at the end. They're kind of pulling out some crazy ones. But we'll keep on top of that. We talked about that Senate Bill 141. That's a 4-year moratorium on anti-fracking, and I think what we'll see there possibly is they tried to show some support for that, but it's a bad bill. So I think as it goes forward, there may be a possibility we might see some type of amendments to that bill. And what I mean by that, it asks for an appropriation, and then it's a 4-year moratorium. Some ideas have been thrown out there. It's about a study, and it's about a committee. Maybe go ahead and let them have the committee and cut out the 4-year moratorium. And I think that's some things that are being discussed. Don't write that down, but that's just some options to look at, which would not be all bad. Not be all bad. Other things that we've been seeing happening that that is of concern. We know that there's some capital outlay discussions going on around the Bryan well right now. That we do not have all of the information on, but I can tell you that what information we do have, or we saw in capital outlay, where they were asking specifically for $9 million for the Bryan well, but they were asking for a match from the county and the city. And we all know what that answer is, okay? But to qualify that, there's still some negotiations going on. But I can tell you that the negotiations that I've been privy to are not favorable either. So we may have to take more actions in the next few days on that, just to kind of tee you up a little bit. Al and I have been having a lot of discussions, and so we know that none of it has been good and probably won't get as good as ever we want to. So we'll leave it at that. Film at 11, we'll talk more offline and when we get more information, but that's all the information that I have. I can tell you this, Representative Brown's on top of it, and she's updating me as things happen very quickly, and I'm passing that on to Al. So we're in conversation, just to let you know. Okay, some of the other things we need to talk about, I think, on more of a national, state level, is we know that we're having problems with the BLM and the moratorium we've seen on permitting out of the BLM for oil and gas issues. There's more that's not known than is known about those kind of things right now. Unfortunately, our governor has not given us much support on that area. When asked, we met the Bat Brigade this week, met with the governor. I should say we listened to the governor talk. It wasn't a very much of an exchange, but there were some pointed questions about that permitting issue to the governor. And she skirted the issues about that, never give us a direct answer. She did go meet with the president this week. From what I understand, that issue was not pushed as hard as it should have been pushed. So there's still a lot of gray area around that executive order in stopping permitting on federal lands.
So, not to delay our meeting or anything like that, but I mean, is there any recourse that Eddy County has? We are by far the most impacted county in the United States by that order. We're just drying up. So last week, was it, Al? We lost 4 rigs in Eddy County and gained 14 in Texas.
Yeah, the overall permitting rig count went up 10. 4 dropped out of New Mexico, so 14 went to Texas.
So we lost, so I mean, and that's exactly what we all said would happen, but we're idiots, so, we don't know. So is there anything that we can do as a county? Because they're going to dry us up if this doesn't happen. I mean, do we have any strategy? I mean, I haven't been able to come up with anything, so I'm.
If you're asking for strategy, I think from what I heard earlier in our meeting, and from Commissioner Henry and also from Commissioner Carlson, I'll just say this, guys. I think our most direct attack strategy, whatever you want to call it, should be going directly to these counties who are going to be impacted by the loss of this revenue, and we've got to do it quickly.
That's our ace in the hole. I mean,
If
they could care less about us. I mean, we voted for Trump overwhelmingly. Anything they can do to punish us, they're gonna do, from Santa Fe to DC, you name it. But our biggest defense is the monies we supply to the rest of the state, and even some of the federal money. The federal revenues are gonna drop off precipitously if they shut all this down.
the voice that turns the ship is the voice of the governor. I'm having very direct conversations with folks on basically both sides of the aisle in Santa Fe. That door seems to be closed almost just barely a crack. And I'm saying that door to the governor's office. So the only way, I believe, is that we have to rally the voice of all the citizens in New Mexico. And I think the way to do that is by just exactly what Commissioner Carlson and Commissioner Henry was saying earlier, and that's all I could hear because I was on the phone, but trying to get things done. But that's the only way we have a chance. My personal opinion in this business, I'm just telling you that until we get that voice out there, I heard even conversations this week about getting Larry Barker involved. I've heard a lot of things to that extreme that we have to do, and we cannot wait, because if the governor has an agenda, and I respect that agenda, don't like it, but I have to respect it, that she has on the bills that she's pushing through, and those seem to be moving pretty well, okay? Some of the green energy, climate change things that are in there that we don't like at all, they're moving, okay? But we're trying to get those amended to where they don't directly hurt us, immediately directly hurt us.
So are you?
My comment to you.
Are you saying that the governor has sufficient stroke with the Biden administration to help change that executive order? Is that what I hear?
And I don't mean to say that, but I mean, if we have any chance at all, I think we have to do that, and maybe not just on the voice of the governor, but also on our congressional delegation. Okay, I don't know how much voice they have. I think Mr. Lujan has some voice, obviously, because of his position and where he is. But at the same time, I think the president, and this is difficult, but I'm in my position, I'm going to say I think the president has to hear and realize that this state voted for him. Okay? He has to hear that. And that has to be brought to the forefront. And I don't think that any of our legislators or our governors doing that, especially on the behalf of the oil and gas industry. And unfortunately, most of us didn't vote that way down here. And so it's just, and so what do we have to do? Follow the money. I mean, that's always where you have to go, unfortunately, in politics. You have to follow the money. And so because of what I tried to convey to you this morning about how some of these bills that affect oil and gas are looking a little more favorable in the legislature, I think we have that ear, but I think the thing that, and I'm going to use this analogy, I think the thing we have to do, we have to yell a little louder. So others within Bernalillo County, Santa Fe County, not San Juan, but some of these other counties that are larger population, Doniana, that we know we have to get in front of them, and they have to get their legislators, and they have to push on their congressional delegation to say, this is what's fixing to happen to us, and get that voice out.
Let me ask you.
We don't have time. We need to get moving now, guys. That's my opinion.
Let me ask you a question. Can we take part of our tax, our lodger's tax, and build an insert with that information in it, and then go to the Santa Fe, whatever it is, and the Albuquerque Journal, and have an insert in it for like a Sunday insert, and that would get it out to hundreds of thousands of people.
Come stay here, hotels are really cheap right now.
And Commissioner Carlson, in all respect, I think that's a good idea, but oftentimes what we see happen is we'll get put on the 4th page and nobody reads it. I think what...
No, I'm talking about an insert, not a page in the journal, but an insert. You put an insert in the paper, it's called inserts.
I think that's a good tack, but I think we would be better served with television commercials.
Well,
They
we could
can't
do,
not-
why not do
I've
both?
heard a great ad from, I think, NMOG is sponsoring it, oil and gas, on what's going on with this money and what it's gonna do.
Yeah, but we can do both. Why can't we do both?
Okay, we can do both, but I'm with Jerry. The people in the newspaper and insert, that goes, they're gonna dodge it. They can't miss it if it comes on one of the news or weather channels that they're watching. I mean,
I think your faces mean more than anything to those people and those commissions and those and I think that's what we have to do. We're not going to make that, and I say, and I'm going to qualify why I say this. I saw what happened in the Bat Brigade meeting the other day, and what was the important thing there is to not answer the question by the governor, and she had to leave quickly because she had a meeting with Governor Cuomo.
that's working out.
Rocket scientist meeting.
I don't know if anybody's been reading the news, but what happened a day or two after that? And so it's what I'm saying is we have to get the voice of the citizens who our money affects, and we've got to get them screaming. And the only way I know to do that is through the commission, through city council meetings, whatever it can do. And I know some of you would be fantastic at doing
Well, we just need to reach out there, whatever it is.
With you, we need to advertise the venue.
I do have a couple questions.
Set
House Bill
out.
50, where
We
is
need to
that?
advertise to the
I know
public.
House Bill 50, it had got rescheduled and.
It hasn't been heard, that's all I
Okay.
know, okay? And I apologize for that in the update.
No, that's fine. I knew it had been rescheduled.
And there are some other bills that have to do with law enforcement that I didn't touch on, and I've been trying to kick some stuff back and forth to the sheriff. That's his, and some of that stuff is not good for our law enforcement people.
Because I think House Bill 50 needs to be another one that we really might look at a resolution. That affects from ranchers, farmers, oil, dairies. That affects all of Eddy County. So, all the workers. So I think that would be one that we really want to look at and
There's
understand.
a lot of bad ones.
And for them to say House Bill 4, the counties are supporting it, I was texting that.
Yeah.
I listened to them talk, and all counties are against it. Even the weird counties are against it. I mean, they all called in to say that, and so for them to say, and Egoff sat there and said, "Well, I can't believe there's still." This is his words. I think I texted you this. It was shocking to me. We put in the amendments they wanted, and no, they didn't.
They didn't.
It's a terrible bill.
It's a lie, is what
Exactly.
it is, and it comes from the best liar there.
100%.
And that's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, you don't have to tell the truth.
No, not if you're on that side. Do we need to send this resolution like immediately since we just passed it this
Yeah,
morning?
we'll get it sent out today. We'll send it.
Because you're saying they might be on the floor by 11, and this could be the first thing heard, so we might want to get it out there like really fast.
I'm not trying to regress. I agree with everything Commissioner Henry said, but is there a way that we can maybe organize among commissioners to present this information to other commissions? I mean, can we get a list of when they're meeting, try to get on the agendas, and just try to have a concerted, organized effort to present, whether be it in person or be it in virtually? I mean,
Are you talking about county commission meetings, or are you talking
No,
about
I'm talking
legislative committee meetings?
Either one. If we do legislative committee meetings or county commission or school board meetings or city council meetings, if we can flood that and each one of us take several of those meetings and present our information, that seems like the only way that we could possibly affect change. I mean, if we don't get organized and do something quickly, we won't have anything done, correct?
So Wes, as he mentioned, has reached out to the commissioners in the other counties, and he'll get the balance today. The committee meeting, the hearing meetings, Jerry can give you firsthand, but that's a moving target based on what's on the agenda, and the process to get in is different for the House and the Senate. When you kind of wait in the queue, when you have to register 24 hours, and you may or may not be heard.
What about school boards and city councils? Can we just do school boards and city councils and just get set up with them?
We can reach out to the
Try to get on their agenda or something? Or?
I think get us the information and let's just go tackle it. When Wes sends us that email, let us know who you've already hit, and then we've got to get it out there. We know people, right? Somebody knows somebody somewhere that can get us somewhere. It's the way it seems to work. So I think school boards are one of the best things to target because they're going to be the most effective. They're going to lose funding dramatically. So I think we get on as many school boards, at least send them the information as quick as we possibly can, because a lot of those folks have no idea what's happening. I'll just be honest. I mean, a lot of them don't pay attention. Some of them.
We need something organized going forward and just try to say, I mean, Wes has been knocking all the doors down, but Wes can only do so many. And like you said, it may have more clout coming from the county commission.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I think we're all willing to participate in something like that. So we'll.
And if we don't do it, we're in trouble.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, not to digress from what Al said a while ago, but this is a challenge. I can tell you immediately what kind of challenge it is. You have to register within 24 hours prior to a Senate committee meeting to get in the line, okay? I just got notified a while ago. The committee meeting starts in 5 minutes. I was just notified that I was in the queue. Okay? The House, you stand in line on the Zoom meeting, and you may or may not get called on. Then you have 1 minute to say what you need to say, and they allow 10 people to talk. Some committees are allowing 2 minutes. Some committees are allowing 1.5 minutes. We don't know. And so what's been happening in some cases on some of these issues is that we get people lined up, and then you give the first part, I give the second part, I give the third part. Okay. But you just, it's just, and I hate to say this, but it's just a check the box. We've allowed people to talk.
But this is how bad it is. House Bill 4, if you were for it, your minute was very...
Like 1 minute 20 or 30?
Yeah, whatever. If you were against it, your minute was 1 minute.
That's right.
It was a fascinating thing to watch. You talk as long as they liked it, you kept talking. But if they don't like what you're saying, your minute is a hard minute. It's criminal.
I'm kind of crazy, but I have
sad.
a little stop clock on my phone, and I'm timing people that talk. Thank you, Commissioner Henry. That's exactly what's happening. Okay, exactly what's happening. It depends on whether you're for or against, and what the chairman of that particular committee's pleasure is. And so, and we just do what we can do. Keep hitting, and I call it hitting the nail. We just keep hitting the nail, hit the nail, hit the nail, hit the nail. And hopefully, with all these efforts, we're doing something. I took too much time. So,
Thank you, Jerry.
okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
Let me know if there's something to do. Okay.
All right. Next on the agenda is the travel request consent agenda.
Entertain a motion that we approve the travel request consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Having a motion, a second, please call for the vote.
Cordova,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
McCutcheon,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. We have no emergency business for this meeting. The next item is legislators and elected officials' comments. Sheriff Cage.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, sir. First and foremost, Commissioner Cordova, can you fix my undersheriff this afternoon, please, so we can get him back to work?
Did you break him?
I did not break him. He did something over the weekend. Anyhow, legislative issues, what do we have? Senate Bill 227 is really, really bad. That's That one is, and I'm sure that the travel consent agenda would be very offensive to the people who are bringing that bill up, because that's a SWAT class that we're sending some of my folks to. I'm not sure how familiar you are with 227, but 227 wants to, it's really strange to me, because there's several things packed in there. One of them is they want to address use of force issues. And what it's doing basically is saying, when we go do a search warrant, and we take a team or whatever, you know, the drug task force guys go, whatever, you're supposed to knock and announce, which we do. We do that. We knock and announce. We always do. No-knock search warrants are like almost unheard of, and in New Mexico they basically do not exist. But under all circumstances, according to this bill, we should wait 45 seconds. Now sit there sometime and start timing 45 seconds whenever you think that something crazy is fixing to happen. Yeah. Like people are, and it does not even leave anything open for exigent circumstances, like you hear somebody being killed or attacked or whatever. It doesn't leave any room for that. You still have to wait 45 seconds before you enter the home to serve the search warrant. Then once you enter, you're forbidden from using any kind of chemical agents. Well, these are all progressive talking points that have come out of Seattle and places like that, because that's what everybody's complaining about. Oh, don't use tear gas. We use pepper spray. We use pepper gas. It works. And I would say probably 80 to 90% of all of our SWAT call-outs that we go to are resolved by either, first off, the terrible, ugly military equipment showing up, the MRAP, the thing that we have. That's just a show of force. That's all it is. And all that thing is, we don't run people over with it. We don't do all this stuff that people think we do. It's basically an armored vehicle that protects law enforcement from being shot. It's a moving barricade. And it's a show of force, because people are like, oh my goodness, look at that thing, it's time to come out. Or the other time we introduce gas to the scenario. And what that means is you put gas inside the house, folks say, I don't want to do this, I'm done, and they come out. That saves people from getting hurt. That saves people from getting killed. That saves cops from getting killed. It saves civilians from getting killed. It saves criminals from getting killed. Yet this bill wants us to not be able to use any of that. Rubber bullets. We don't even have rubber bullets. We don't use rubber bullets. Now, some folks use beanbag rounds with shotguns. Less lethal. Unless you get shot in the face with it or something like that, it hurts. I've been shot with one. It hurts, but it doesn't kill you. It doesn't severely injure you. But this bill also wants to take away the use of rifles or shotguns when you're entering a home. So basically what they want to do is not even equalize law enforcement with the criminal element that we're going into. They want to basically put us at a disadvantage, because how many folks have rifles and shotguns and everything else out there that might be barricaded in their home? We take them down all the time. And we take them out and we get these illegal weapons. So it wants us to do that as well. It also puts a crazy, burdensome reporting process in place, which would pretty much make my command staff obsolete. Because what it says is if we have an incident where there's an injury of any sort, or where medical attention is required, which we do that all the time to protect y'all, protect the taxpayers, protect ourselves. If we put our hands on somebody, we generally call for EMTs to come and check them out, make sure that they're not hurt, so that they can't claim later that they were hurt and sue us, sue y'all, sue the county. So anytime that would occur, we would be required to fill out this extremely long report, and that would be sent to the Secretary of the Department of Public Safety for the state, which I spoke to him personally, and the interim, he's the permanent chief of police for the state police, but he's been moved up. And he said, this is crazy. They did an FIR, a financial impact report, and it said that they would need at least 130 additional personnel, new personnel, hired by the state, just to handle the intake of all these reports that would come from all across the state, every agency across the state. Then they would have to decipher them, look at them, and decide whether what we did was proper. Not us. We don't do any investigating of our
Is there
own.
like 450 state police officers in uniform around?
650 state police, yes. They have a hard time, and I'm not bashing on them, they have a hard time handling their own business. It's difficult. It's a big mechanism that operate, and they do a good job, just like all of us do. But we all handle it. We clean our own stuff. I mean, state police already comes and we call them in. We ask them to help us whenever we have an officer-involved shooting. We bring them in, and we say, "Hey, help us out with this," because I think it looks better to have an outside agency take a look at something instead of me taking a look at what we do it in an internal affairs type thing, see if policy was violated, but as far as law goes, our district attorney and state police attorney looks at that. Now, Sheriff Helton and I have been talking about maybe doing our own thing to help alleviate some of the burden on state police. But this is 227. 227 is very dangerous. There's also, and I can't remember what it is, a House bill, I can't remember which one it is, but it's on use of force reporting. It's kind of a sister bill to this one. So that, law enforcement is definitely, you go in there and look at the bills that are made targeting, that are in there right now proposed, targeting law enforcement, and it's kind of frightening. You can see an agenda starting, it's rearing its ugly head. I can tell you right now, Senate Bill 227 is probably one of the most radical, aggressive that I've ever seen. And I've been reading up, and it's probably the most radical, most aggressive police restraint bills in the nation. We're trying to make a name for ourselves here. And I can tell you right now, if to use an analogy of and at Albuquerque Police Department's expense, I'll go ahead and say this, they've been under the Department of Justice scrutiny back from the Eric Holder Obama administration, back when they had several use of deadly force incidents, and they came under scrutiny. Well, they've been under these type of restraints to a certain extent for this whole time now. What's going on in Albuquerque right now? Crime rate is through the roof. Murder rate is set to just explode. So are these kind of things really working? No, they're not working. There's proof in the pudding right there. They're not working. So that's what they're trying to saddle us with. Moving quickly on, because I don't want to keep you here all day, and I've got things to do too, but House Bill 4, Speaker Egoff is a disgrace. I mean, that guy just lies non-stop, and it's ridiculous. The fact New Mexico County's executive board unanimously and vehemently opposes this bill, has from the beginning. With the changes they made to it, it doesn't matter. The substitute bill is garbage too, because what it does is, we put a cap on we went ahead and put a cap on those attorneys' fees and all that. Yeah, but then they said each individual. So if all of y'all decided that I came in here and violated your rights and you sued me, it would be a cap for you, a cap for you, a cap for you, everybody around there's no cap. That's not a cap. That's a lie. It's garbage. And that's what they're trying to do. Steve Kopelman, I'll tell you right now, he's fighting for his life for us. Brian Moore, New Mexico County is earning their money right now, and we're trying really hard. But you have to understand, it's like Jerry was saying, we're all stifled. We are all stifled. We can't go in there. We can't talk. We can't do anything. They're not listening to us. So it's frightening, a frightening time right now. We do have some several allies, but their voices aren't being heard either. The Speaker of the House has too much power, way too much power, and it's going to cost our state because he has an agenda and he's going to ram it down our throats. So be afraid, be very afraid. I mean, it's bad. There's several more I could talk about, but I'm not going to. I will say that the moving on to the sheriff's office business, my folks are out there doing a great job for you. We're almost full staff. We've got a couple in the academy. One of them has even been recognized as a squad leader, which is a really cool thing, and they're doing great. We're going to get them through. We've hired a couple more uncertifieds. We've hired a couple of certifieds. The county manager and I are working together to alleviate some of the issues that we've had with hiring some certifieds, and it's looking good that way, knock on wood. It's looking real good as far as personnel wise, and they're out there doing a great job, especially in the conditions that my folks are out there operating in, and the other folks in the county who are required to be out in this weather. So I really appreciate them doing that. I appreciate everything going on in the county right now, but if you need something, let me know. We're working hard for it to keep things going, and also just keep the state police, the state police has taken quite the bashing throughout all this, but I think we've seen now that they're just as dedicated and just as vulnerable as the rest of law enforcement with the latest loss of life. So, and that was one who that kid worked here for 5 years about, and he was stationed here. So why don't we quit bashing on them now and realize where it's really coming from and where the orders come from that they are following. So
how's our sheriff that got hit by the car?
He's okay. He's going to be back at work, limited potentially. We're looking to see how that goes. He was planning on retiring anyway, so we'll work it out as best we can. I think he's planning on being around for a little bit longer though. So he's hurt, but he's a combat vet. He's been around for a while. He's tough.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Sheriff. Any other elected officials? Don't see any. Next is county manager comments. Last commission meeting, we passed the resolution supporting getting kids back in school, and I've heard from all of the superintendents. I thought I'd bring this one. I was going to let John read it. It's got bulldogs on it, you know, but it was a personal note, so I thought I'd bring it to commission to you. Dear members of the Eddy County Commission, on behalf of the Artesia Public Schools Board of Education, I want to thank you for your intentioned effort to support in-person learning and local control. Although not yet where we want to be, we took a step forward this week with students at all grade levels returning in a hybrid model of learning. And the joy on the faces of the students and the staff has been priceless. We need and are ready for more, specifically including a return to athletics and activities. We will continue to work toward that and greatly appreciate your continued support. Sincerely, John Rossnall, Artesia Public School Superintendent. I got similar notes, emails from Superintendent White and Superintendent Washburn. They're They know what you do. They're appreciative of what you do and the support that you provide. Last meeting, we were given some direction and motivation. It's like being in the woodshed. We've had several meetings with the local groups. Artesia General Hospital has been really good in support. Carlsbad Medical Center, we've come to an agreement and understanding. New Mexico Department of Health, we had Southwest Region involved, and our local folks. We have a tentative plan for a recurring vaccination model that would occur weekly. I understand through different channels we have the number of doses made available to the county are in range with what we targeted. We did apparently hit the right notes and the right contacts to make that happen. We're now working on formalizing the logistics to get it to occur. There was a misperception, and I would maybe offer a public apologies. In the press release that we put out last week, I think it was misinterpreted, the county comments regarding Artesia General. Artesia General has done a great job, and they continue to do a great job week in and week out. They have consistently provided up to 200 doses per week in their system. So they're doing a great job in what they're doing. So if there was any misperception, my apologies for that misperception. Carlsbad Medical has said, we'll help. The city and the county have agreed to provide resources, and we're now working to formalize that situation with the New Mexico Department of Health. So we're hopefully starting the 1st of March, we'll be able to get that executed and do that consistently. So just recognition for emergency management, fire services. Ms. Jennifer's kind of been at the point on the vaccination element, doing a lot of the legwork and the interaction with that. You saw a couple of the fire services folks here today. They've gone to take our EM50 emergency command vehicle up to Rita. They need it. They've had some challenges there with power and heat and some things like that. So again, county resources helping keep things running, from an emergency and emergency control standpoint, things, notification. The comments about and discussion about the urgency and the messaging, I don't want you to feel like that we don't hear what you're saying and that we're not acting on it. We are acting on it. We do hear it. We're trying to get to as many outlets as possible. We appreciate your comments and suggestions. We will follow up on those. We'll get you the information that you can also share. In the past week, I think I've had 4 different interviews for various agencies. 2 groups have come out of Washington, D.C. to talk about the local situation. When I get those links of when those are aired, I'll pass them along to you for reference. Also a couple of print articles that should come out in the next week or so. So we are trying to get our message out, heard about the impacts and implications of not just the executive orders, but what's occurring within the state, and the perception about transition from hydrocarbon to new or clean. It's not a binary situation. It's not on or off. It's not 1 or 0. It's a transition that will take years, maybe longer. As I think it was Commissioner McCutcheon mentioned before the meeting began, it was a little comical to see helicopters being used to defrost the wind turbines in West Texas. Yeah, we ought to think about this a little bit. Some of the rolling power outages that have been experienced in the state of Texas and we're experiencing here in southeast New Mexico today, part of that the claim is that because of natural gas shortages. Imagine that. On the power plants, there's more demand than there is supply. Natural gas being used for heating, it's also used to generate electricity, and so that's what the rolling brownouts and blackouts in Texas are coming from. So doesn't take a lot to think about the ramifications of the mindset about, well, we'll just turn this other off and turn the new stuff on and we'll be good to go. That's not the reality, that's not the science, that's not the mechanics of how that works. So we continue to watch production levels from the oil and gas industry in Eddy County. We continue to watch the average prices as we move forward with developing our budget. Ms. Roberta released the budget template, or the expenditure template, to the department heads last week, so we'll be working on that. We'll follow up in the coming weeks with the commission when we have some preliminary information, and as I mentioned, we'll bring the road story to you to talk about what's been done, what's in progress, what's in the outlook. I think it's a great story. I think that's probably, for now, as most of you do, participate in lots of different Zoom meetings. Last week, the Bat Brigade and Department of Development had lots of meetings that they would typically do in a legislative session, but they were doing them remotely. The one takeaway I had was that without being able to meet in person with those elected officials, those secretaries, those department heads, we're realizing what I would say is a travesty of the legislative process. You can't express the public's opinion to those individuals in an effective manner if you can only reach out to them through a text, or maybe get 30 seconds of screen time on a Zoom committee call. It's just whitewash, and that's not what our legislative process was intended to be. And the fact that there are those who are driving that process at the state level and not recognizing that is just a sad note. So I appreciate all your support. We take your directions. We'll get you the information you're asking for and the contacts, and we'll move with urgency on those. I appreciate the county employees continue to do what they do day in, day out, because those are the services that our citizens are asking for, need, and require, and we're trying to do that to the best that we can with the resources and conditions that we have. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Related to the vaccine distribution, is that still going to be following like 1A and 1B, or will we be opening that up?
So when we spoke with the Department of Health representatives, they were adamant about the 1A and the upper portion of 1B. We expressed to them that because of our focus and agility, we thought that we could move through those tiers more quickly and more rapidly, and they concurred. They are bound by what the number of vaccines that they can get because they're all state controlled. But they do want to make sure that all the vaccines that are delivered get injected. And so we'll work through that. We'll utilize this. The objective is to utilize the state database to get people an appointment, and then for those that, if we have more vaccines ready to use than the appointments, then we'll start making calls. Yeah, we'll reach out. So we'll use that database for that purpose. And as I understand it, the database has that capability to reach out to that next set of individuals. So I think as we get into our pace, that the state levels, those tiers will be opened up as well. There's a big portion of 1B that's not yet, in theory, open, which includes teachers, which is kind kind of ludicrous, and essential workers. If we could get that element, we could do a large number of vaccinations very quickly. And we've got the commitment for the resources to do that weekly. So there would be a portion of the vaccines which would be new for new individuals, and the next week those, or in 3 weeks, the new ones would get their second dose. So it would have that staggered approach, and we wouldn't have that conflict. So the first event is scheduled at a time when those that received their first vaccine last week will get their second one on that event, and then we'll have a bunch for new individuals, and then we'll just roll like that. So.
And this is beginning March 5th, or it's already begun?
We're targeting March 1st, but on a Monday. But until we get confirmation from the state, that's the plan.
Okay.
We have another meeting on the 19th to get all these confirmations in place and commitment to resources. And when we do that, we'll make the public aware of the event. Again, make sure people are registered, and that we can get them there. We're again going to use the Walter Gerald's Event Center, and we want this event to be done such that it doesn't interrupt the process that Artesia General already has in place and is working and serving in the community of Artesia. So that was one of the aspects of this discussion was you can't interfere with what's being done. This has to be in addition to what's being done. So those other events, for long-term care and others, again, there's a variety of long-term care, and those are getting federal doses. They're not state doses.
Right.
But everything else has to come through the state. So I think we have the right things in place to make that happen. So we're going to continue to pursue that.
Thank you, Alan, for taking charge of that.
Anything else? The next item is county commissioner comments.
I've been participating in the Mayor's Mental Health Task Force meetings, specifically regarding the closure of VIA, the inpatient rehab here, counseling services through Golden Services. The director of Lifehouse, which was also referenced in the development book this morning, they run sober living houses here in town, are looking to purchase VIA to keep that going and encompass counseling, inpatient rehab under one roof. There was a letter that went out last week to county members and county individuals. They're hoping for $1 million in 45 days to get this up and running. I was approached about what the county could do, and I said basically, until the end of the legislative session, we had kind of discussed not making any big decisions until that time came, and they understood. He's supposed to be putting together kind of a logistics, how this is going to operate, how this is going to run, and this will be in conjunction with Avalon Ranch as well, that has come and been discussed here. On the note of behavioral health and mental health services, we are in dire straits down here when it comes to access, availability. I think to your point, there's a lot that can be remedied by getting patients the help that they require as far as, being incarcerated and these types of things. It's a very big point of my care as a nurse practitioner, and since the pandemic has started and just everything that's happened, it has increased exponentially what I see and what patients need to make it through the day. So when that information is presented to me, of course I'll be presenting it to all the commissioners, but I really do feel that this is something we need to consider locally for Eddy County. If we lose VIA and we use counseling services, it is going to be extreme. And as it sits right now, there are some individuals that will wait 6 to 8 months to be evaluated by a mental health person. That's just unacceptable. So as I said, once information is presented to me, I will be bringing that to you, and we'll see if there's a role that the county may play in that. Thank you.
I have a couple quick things. On that Senate bill, I know I can't ask questions necessarily, but I would ask this question and you can answer me later. On Senate Bill 227, if that was to pass and one of our officers is injured waiting outside for 45 seconds, or if somebody inside is injured that they could have protected in that 45 seconds, I would love to know what kind of lawsuit you could bring against the state, or what kind of ramifications we could bring against the state as a county, a city, or even state police could bring against themselves. I don't know if that's in there or not, but I think if anybody gets injured because they're stupid bill and the stupidity of what they think, all you're doing is giving them 45 seconds to gear up and ready to go. Because we all know that the bad guys don't have real bullets, and our fake bullets will definitely counteract their fake bullets. So, but I really am upset about that. I'm sick and tired of law enforcement being put more in danger of an already dangerous job, and I would like to know what ramifications the county could have back to the state when they pass bad legislation. So that would be a question to answer whenever. Couple quick things. I'm really glad. I know last week was the first week of school, right? In-person school. I think we saw a lot of happy kids. It's not near enough. My daughter was not super excited, but the second she got there, everything changed. She's really excited. Now they're off today because rolling blackouts, which is a bummer. Yeah. But whatever. She's a Monday, Tuesday. They pushed her to Tuesday, Wednesday since Monday was the day. So glad they're back in class. Glad the travel ban got lifted. I know the governor had to travel, so I'm glad she did that so she could travel. But by her lifting that, it was really good because there was some unintended consequences happening for some of the folks around the county. So I'm really glad she had to take a trip so that she would lift it for the rest of us. And I'm saying that as a joke because I know that's why I'm assuming that's a big reason she lifted it. But it really was some horrible unintended consequences happening to some folks, and so I was really glad to see that go. That was a good thing. The one thing, I'm glad you mentioned vaccines. I was really kind of disappointed in the approach of our local media on how they took what we said last meeting. They focus on some goofy stuff when all the point of the county is trying to make is we want vaccines so that we can continue to move in the right direction. I think when we're now 33 out of 33, is that correct? Yeah. We're the 11th biggest county. We're 33 out of 33. So there might be some problem there. I think we have a good strategy, but I think had that not been brought up in the last meeting, I think y'all would still work on it. Y'all do a great job, but for the media to focus on that and forget the whole point is let's get vaccinated for those that want the vaccine, because we need to get businesses open. I think where they could really start focusing, I don't know if y'all saw the report, it really bothered me because it kind of touched home. The gentleman in another county, he owned the restaurant, had purchased a huge amount of product for Valentine's Day, changed to red, and you lose all that. You don't necessarily lose all that product. Surely the town rallied around him and sold it. But he had big plans to have a big Valentine's Day with the rules that were in place because his county, and it got shut down. That's, obviously I can speak to that. Why did we shut down? Everyone said, oh, you were successful. Well, absolutely. But it's a decision like that you have no idea what she's going to do day to day that affects us. I remember when the pandemic first hit, we lost $5,000, $6,000 that day. We had 2 huge caterings, and there was a baseball tournament fixing to happen. We were loaded for it, and that decision changed it that day. So, if these vaccines help those kind of folks not close their doors, and that's what we're trying to fight for. I mean, we want folks that want to be vaccinated so they feel safe to feel safe. We want businesses that don't want to close to not have to close. That's what these papers should be focusing on. But unfortunately, our media doesn't focus on positivity and trying to get things done properly. They want to focus on something. They tried to prove I was wrong twice, but then in the middle of that, when they quoted me again in a separate article, they actually proved I was right, but 2 seconds later tried to prove I was wrong. So I'm very confused on what they're trying to do because it's irrelevant. Who cares? Am I wrong that people can go to Texas and get vaccinated? Prove I'm wrong. I don't care. That's fine. I know people that have done it, but that's okay. Prove I'm wrong. But why don't we start focusing on how do we get folks vaccinated? But that's not what the media wants to, because that would help the situation and help people. So very disappointed in that. Some horrible legislation going on, and I mentioned it when Mr. Fanning was up here, but for those that are watching, it really is sad. I think Grace was doing a great job on House Bill 4. She had some amazing points. She was a minute stop, right in the middle of a very important point. Whereas there was another individual on there that, I don't know what point they were making, but they were about a minute 30, a minute 40 to make their whatever point it was. And it's just sad to see how it is. I've said it a million times. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. Everybody should have their chance to have their voice heard. And I really think that voice is being stifled in this state, and it bothers me a great deal. I don't agree with and the newspaper did get that. They get that spot on. I've been a huge. I don't agree with this administration at all. Anything they've done really to this point. But that aside, had you had open dialogue, I think we would all feel a lot better about things. And I just don't know that there's been open dialogue lately in the state of New Mexico. And I think that's sad, because I think we all have things to contribute, both sides. So whereas I do disagree with decisions, I think the disagreement is we don't have a say. It just here it is. I mean, we all agree the pandemic's horrible. I think we could all, if we were to sit at a table and try to come up with some solutions, both sides have solutions, but we're not hearing that. So I'm preaching to the choir for the most part here. I appreciate everything y'all do. Thank y'all for pushing forwards with some of our goofy ideas. But I think we do have some good ideas sometimes. And but no, thank y'all for everything you do, and we'll keep it up. But I really am curious about, I'd love to, and I'm talking a scratch. If one of our officers has a scratch because they had to wait 45 seconds.
I'm sure that's been brought up.
I want to
covered
discussions.
Let's hammer away, because it is time that when you pass bad luck, we should be held accountable if we were to pass something silly like that, which we're not allowed to anyways. But I would love for that to now become a real thing, because it's not fair. Their lives are in danger every single day, and the nonsense they're passing is becoming very dangerous. And it's going to put our citizens in harm's way, because we're going to have less and less good men and women wanting to do the job. So,
we're going to have to back off of our responses too.
Yeah.
If this happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to. That's the reality.
Well, and I never will forget, I did a mission trip in England one year, and one of the guys that was hanging out with us actually was an officer. I don't know what they call them over there, but, you know, the little baton guys. And that's what he was. And that's what he said he was. And we said, well, what happens when something really bad's happening? You know, we say, well, please stop. I said, okay, what if they don't stop? We say, really, please stop. I mean, that, and he was being serious. That's what they do. That's their law enforcement in some instances over there. So, you know, if we get there, as we see in Albuquerque, it's not working. I mean, it's sad when artisans are buying crummy cars, and this is no lie, crummy cars, so when we go to Albuquerque, that one gets stolen and not the nice car we have. That's a true fact. I mean, the paper will maybe misquote me on that, but I sold a car that I shouldn't have, apparently, because that's exactly why they bought it. They didn't want their good car stolen. They were going to buy that. So, sad day.
Thanks, John. Commissioner Cross.
I just want to remind and talk about the tragedy that happened on the west side of the state the other day, and it just brings home to roost how important and how we support our law enforcement and our emergency people in this county, and we want to continue to do that. And the other thing is that West Texas Intermediate is 59.75 today, so that's a good push. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Crawford.
Our 27 million is looking good.
I don't know how you follow John, but anyway, the only thing I think I would add to everything you had to say is, what's the motive behind 227 in Senate Bill 4? We know what it is, but has anybody pushing that. I mean, this is obvious being pushed to destroy law enforcement. How do we, your advertising, how do we get that going? How do we get that word out? The dire consequences to this stuff. Look at what's going on to Albuquerque. Albuquerque knows it. They don't seem to be fighting it. So I don't know where you go from here. And I'll end it with, with Mr. Purtle's bill's looking better and better all the time. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Beard. I don't have much. It's all pretty much been said. I do think that sometimes we're famous here in the southeastern corner of the state that we hate renewables and we don't want any innovation and things like that. We just want to run our old trucks on old gas and everything like that, which I think what we have to say is that we have to be 100% practical. That yes, we like when companies can reuse produced water to frack wells. We don't like to see our fresh water do that, but that's the solution right now, and that's okay, and that's what has to be done. We have to be practical in moving forward. If there is new innovation, then that's okay. We need to have some new innovation. If there's some sustainable renewables, I think that's okay. That's all okay. But right now, fossil fuels are the only thing that we can actually count on, and we can't legislate ourselves out of a job. We can't legislate ourselves, away from the comforts that everybody is used to, just on a whim. We all support, we all support taking care of the earth and doing these things. That's across the aisle, and I think that we have more friends than we realize. On we can say, bipartisan issues or whatever. I mean, not really bipartisan issues, but we can say that we have more friends than we realize once the facts are given. And so I think what we need to focus on is always focusing on the facts, always focusing on moving forward, not focusing, we can't be like Egoff and just tell lies all the time. But what we can do is we can focus on facts and we can focus on moving forward. I believe that when we get past all the contention, because I'm the worst at it. John may be worse at that. I don't know, but I'm bad at just getting mad about stuff and just losing it, and I just think, this is ridiculous, and I just like some old bull that just gets mad and just wants to fight anything that shows up, even if they're agreeing with me. I'm just mad and ready to fight, And I think we need to, if we can move away from contention and move towards, peaceable discussion, and that's where we get caught in the trap, is we can't really have peaceable discussion when we're cut off at a minute. Somebody else has a minute and a half. I mean, so that's where we end up. And I've talked and hadn't really said anything, but I believe we should look ways that we don't have to be contentious and look for friends wherever they may be, because I think we have a lot more friends than we realize, especially when people understand exactly where we're coming from. And so I'm looking forward about getting with all the commissioners up here and trying to figure out what we can do as a concerted effort to say this right-of-way ban, it's not a fracking ban, but this right-of-way ban that we have now, we can't get to the resources. It's going to damage the state. It's going to damage the economy. We don't have any we don't have any solutions right now. Just as Mr. County Manager said, we don't turn off oil today and turn on renewables tomorrow. That's just not how it works. Yeah, we're for innovation, we're for those things, but I'll tell you what, we have to go with what's practical and with what works and with what we have. And so I think moving forward, I'm really excited to go to the other commissions and school boards and city councils and try to give them a good view on what oil actually does, on what petroleum products actually do. I mean, our chairs are petroleum. I mean, our cars, the tires are petroleum. Our shirts are petroleum. The tent that you sleep in when you wear your little Teva, little weird sandals, those are made out of petroleum. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but it all comes from petroleum. So there's no way that we're going to get away from petroleum products. But I'm really excited when we get in front of some of these other boards and councils and commissions that we will find more friends when we get there, because with good facts, I believe that people will make good informed decisions and push towards correct correct legislation or correct. So anyways, I'm done. I guess we have one more item.
Make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. Please call for the vote.
Cordova?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
McCutcheon?
Yes.
Beard?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
We are adjourned.